Hello, and welcome to Boomer Banter, where we have real talk about aging well. I am your host, Wendy Green, and every week we talk about the challenges, the changes, and the possibilities that come with this season of life. And one way that I continue this conversation is through what I call the Banter Circle. So each month, the Banter Circle community comes together for a virtual gathering. We build friendships, we share stories, and we build community in this Banter Circle. And in March, we are going to be talking about who you are becoming when you have left the role of work. It's a monthly meeting. It's with people that are like-minded, that really want to age well. There is a membership fee. It's $25 a month. And the value of what happens in the Banter Circle is far beyond the cost that you would pay, but the exchange matters. It allows the circle to exist, and it honors the time, care, and experience that go into creating it. So you can learn more or start your membership at buymeacoffee.com/heyboomer0413. So have you crawled out of bed in the morning and said to yourself, oh, if my brain would only quiet down, because last night I was trying to fall asleep and I was reorganizing the garage, or I was reliving a conversation that I had with somebody last week, or maybe even ruminating, we all do this, about the latest news report. Or maybe you wake up almost every day at 4:42 on the dot, like an internal alarm clock is going off. And here's the thing. We talk a lot about aging well. We talk about relationships. We talk about purpose. We talk about movement and nutrition. But sleep, that's not something we've talked much about. And it's really foundational to part of our aging well. And yet so many of us in our 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond quietly think, well, I guess this wakeful sleep is what happens when we get older, or maybe I just don't need as much sleep as I used to, or I wish I could sleep like I used to sleep. Well, today we are going to remove some of your worries, disrupt some of the myths with my guest, Sally Duplantier. Sally is a nationally recognized gerontologist, a researcher, and someone recently named by MSN as one of the top inspiring women to watch for the way she's changing about how we think about aging. Sally speaks at places like Stanford and the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and today she's here with us to talk about something fun. You might be a lion, or a bear, or a wolf, or maybe a dolphin. And this is not a personality quiz. This is a sleep style that you are going to have fun learning about, and it is based on science. So let's welcome Sally to Boomer Banter. Hello, Sally.
Hello, Wendy. I am so excited to be here. I loved that intro. Yes. I already know what kind of animal I am.
Well, I am so glad to have you here. I have had fun talking to you about so many different things because you are in the Age-Wise Collective group, which is super fun also. But I want to brag on you for a minute first, Sally.
Okay.
You've had a couple of successful businesses that you've sold. Later in life, you went on to become a gerontologist, and now you're studying for your PhD. Can you give us a brief intro? Because this is such an example of aging well and lifelong learning.
I'll make it short. I started my first startup when I was 28, and it was in technology training and business process change. Totally different field. sold it after 25 years, said I was never going to work again. And then, I went back to work in leadership development, which is different than technology training. And that was for about 8 years. And I retired the second time. And you know what, Wendy, I have like great pictures of that retirement party. I was set. And then at age 66, I started my current company, Zing. And I really started it with a mission to help older adults live their best lives longer. Because I saw how I was aging, and at 66, which was pretty good, but people around me were aging very differently.
Mm-hmm.
The fun part was I had no real background in this. I had a passion, but no background. So then I went on to get my education, certificate in nutrition science at Stanford, Master's of Science in Gerontology at USC. I have a graduate degree in qualitative research from Indiana U, and I am now in a doctorate program in public health at Indiana U. And I will be 75 when I get my doctorate, but I figure I'll be 75 anyway. So
exactly. Yeah. And you know, I followed you up until the 66, and I wanted to do something to help people age well. Because I did the technology, I did the training, and started my show at 66, but I have not gone on for my advanced degrees. So you never know.
And I love it. And you know, if I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it, but I really love it.
Yeah. I know you do. And you know, you bring so much wisdom to us. So I want to talk about the sleep styles, the animal sleep styles. But before we get there, I think there are a couple of terms that we need to define, and those are chronotype and circadian rhythm. So can you kind of help simplify those terms for us?
Yeah. So I think we've all heard of circadian rhythm. Okay, so we all have a circadian rhythm. There's actually multiple rhythms, quite honestly. But the circadian rhythms are based on a 24-hour clock, and they control things like hormones, they control things like body temperature, they control when we're hungry, and they're most commonly associated with sleep. And interestingly enough, even though our clocks are on a 24-hour schedule, our circadian rhythm is about 23 hours and 56 seconds. So yeah, or 56 minutes. You know, it's not quite exact. Yeah, but we
That's funny. Okay.
So that's a circadian rhythm. That applies to every being. Now, chronotypes are interesting. Chronotypes have been studied since the 70s, and it's more like your individual wiring or your individual preference. So if you think, Wendy, like 24 hours is a big amount of time, and you and I and people listening may have different preferences for kind of waking and sleeping, for example. And these preferences are mostly genetic, but they can also be environmental. And there are some changes at certain life stages. So little kids, for example, tend to be like early risers, but early to bed, where we know what happens to teenagers. They're up, you know, till midnight or 1 a.m., but then trying to get them out of bed in the morning is really tough.
Yeah. So that was interesting, because I was going to ask you if your chronotype is kind of set because it's more genetic, or does it change as we age? But I think you said it does change, right?
It changes a little bit, but we're going to get into the 4 different chronotype types. If you are a lion, like a really early riser, you're never going to change into a wolf, which is the late riser. You know, the late riser, the person who stays up till 1 or 2 a.m. You're not going to do that fundamental of a change. As we get older, though, we may have a small preference for getting to bed a little bit earlier.
Okay. All right. So let's have a little fun. You mentioned the lion and the wolf. Tell us about the different animal sleep style types, and how that relates to us.
So this is so interesting because, as I mentioned, Wendy, the sleep chronotypes, or the chronotypes, have been researched since the 70s. But there was a clinical psychologist and sleep medicine specialist, Dr. Michael Breus, and he wrote a book in 2016 called, I want to get the title right, The Power of When. And what he did was he decided to create these archetypes of different animals to help people understand their chronotype. And when I say chronotype, we think about it as our best, like when we sleep, but it's also when we do our best thinking, when we are most productive.
Okay.
And so I'll give you an overview of the 4 of them, and then we can dive deep into them.
Okay.
So the lion, and I tend to be a lion, and I think you're a lion.
I'm a lion.
We are the early wakers. It's easy for me to talk about the lion because I understand it. We will probably wake up before the sun rises. This morning I was awake at 10 to 6. It's a holiday. It was dark out. I'm like, yeah, I'm awake. Okay.
That's right. You're awake.
We will be our most productive between about 7 in the morning and 11, maybe noon. And we kind of go downhill after that. That's our best. It's not only our best energy level, but it's our best thinking time.
Absolutely.
And so you know what I mean, because that's
totally
the preference. Yes. And then we tend to be more early to bed, 9:30, 10. I'm a little on the late side with that, with 10:30. But that's one end of the spectrum. Yeah. Should I go on?
Go on.
Okay.
Yes. Oh.
So then there's the bear. I should mention lions are about 10 to 20%. And Dr. Bruce had created this whole quiz around this, which you can get in his book, but we're going to share one in the show notes. Like you can go to one of the websites and you can find a quick quiz. So the bear is about 50 to 55% of people.
Oh, so most people. Okay.
Yes, most people are bears, and they are more attuned to the sunrise and sunset. So they are more likely to wake up when the sun rises, and their best kind of productive time is between about 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So these are people who are kind of well suited for the 9 to 5 workday. They kind of wake up, have their coffee, whatever, and they're most productive in that period.
I am so grateful to Greenwood Capital for supporting the work and the inspiring content that Boomer Banter shares with our audience. It is because Greenwood Capital's advisors understand me and my desire to help others that I feel so aligned with their work. Their website is full of helpful resources, and their advisors are there to serve you. Greenwood Capital is an independent registered advisory firm providing wealth management, investment solutions, and financial planning to clients in 23 states. Visit their website at greenwoodcapital.com. And so when the winter darkness starts and the shorter days, does that really impact them?
They may be more attuned to the light cues than somebody like you or me who we'll just wake up.
We just wake up.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Then there's the wolf. And the wolf, they used to call him the night owl, but the thing is the early bird and the night owl, it doesn't really describe this whole kind of spectrum. So the wolf is about 10 to 20% of the people. It's our opposite. And sometimes it's hard for us to understand that. It's people who may wake up at 7:30 or 8 a.m., but wish they could sleep longer. Now, their most productive time, it could be a big window from like noon to 9, but it could be like 4 p.m. to midnight. They do their best work later, much later, and they tend to go to bed much later, midnight, 1 or 2 a.m., and they wake up later. The challenge with being a wolf is in our society, we don't really reward that. We kind of reward getting to work at a certain time and, not necessarily staying up. What are you still doing up?
I know. Well, maybe they do better on second and third shift kinds of.
Well, they might. And I think I'm guessing here. This is not like I haven't researched this, but I know I worked in, technology training, and I worked with a lot of engineers, and they were notorious for coming in at like 10 in the morning and then staying late to do their best work.
Yeah.
And then there's the dolphin. The dolphin is about 10% of people. And the dolphin is, that particular chronotype is kind of erratic. Like they might wake up at 8 a.m., something like that. They might be productive between 10 and 12, but it's it's more erratic, it's less regular, it's less predictable. They tend to be lighter sleepers, and it doesn't follow quite as much of the same pattern or same preference.
Yeah. And they wake up frequently too, right? The dolphins, because they're light sleepers.
They are light sleepers. Now, waking up frequently, that also comes with aging.
Okay,
So,
tell
yeah,
me more about that. I want to share the link for the chronotype quiz, and I will put this in the show notes, but in case you all want to have a fun conversation with your friends or significant other today, go to sleepopolis.com/chronotypes-quiz and find out if you're a lion, a bear, a wolf, or a dolphin.
yeah, and it's kind of fun. It's like the old like Cosmo quizzes, but
Yeah.
and I think most of us have a sense of what we are.
Mm.
But now let's talk about age-related sleep changes. And this really fascinates me because this is my work as a gerontologist. What I
Mhm.
study is I study like what's normal aging and what's abnormal. And what's normal aging is not sleeping quite as well. I would say that people over 60, probably 40 to 50%, describe some kind of sleep challenges. Now, there's normal age-related sleep challenges, and then there's true insomnia or
Mm.
obstructive sleep apnea. So I'll get to that. But let's
Okay.
just talk about what happens as we age. Okay, so the first thing is the sleep architecture changes. And the sleep
Okay.
architecture, it's these waves, like you've probably seen them, where we're in a light sleep, we go into a deep sleep, then we go to REM, and then we come back out of it. And there's kind of a rhythm to the night. And in younger people and middle-aged people, it's pretty regular, it's pretty predictable. But now, as we age, that becomes a lot more fragmented. And
Hmm.
so we have a lot more nocturnal awakenings. So, like in some ways, we have a little dolphin tendency. So some of what happens, dolphins live with, but it happens to us as we age. So there's these micro awakenings. And once we might not even know we're awake, but once we're awake, oh my gosh, then it's harder to get back to sleep. But then, Wendy, there's a few other things. There's nocturia, which is frequent urination. Well,
Mm.
that's going to wake us up,
For
okay?
sure. Yeah.
There can be medications that we take and even supplements that make it hard to either fall asleep or stay asleep.
Hmm.
So these are some of the challenges. And then on top of it, there are physical disorders like obstructive sleep apnea, which tends to happen more towards older adults. And it's when we have difficulty breathing. We don't even realize it. We might not realize it, but it can be serious because it can lead to high blood pressure and also dementia.
Hmm. Hmm. And yet we hear how important sleep is for us, right? Like it affects our immune system, it affects our cognitive ability. I know if I don't get enough sleep, I'm all foggy in the morning. So how do we manage that, if we're constantly, not constantly, but those small little awake cycles?
Yeah. So this is such an interesting question, Wendy. And I've been talking about sleep probably as long as I've been a gerontologist, which is about 7 years. And I will tell you that I'm changing my messaging.
Oh,
Okay. I am.
okay.
I am. I may even say I was wrong. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to say that or not. But I think that people like myself and people who, kind of represent public health, we talk so much about the importance of at least 7 hours of sleep a night.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
we hear it
that's
all the time.
we hear it all the time. And and it there is scientific evidence about this. And it's the recommendation of the National Sleep Foundation, the CDC, Mayo Clinic. So there's a lot of evidence about this. The challenge is that if we keep preaching, you need 7 hours of sleep, and people don't get it, what happens?
Anxiety,
Yeah,
shame, all
yeah,
of that.
they feel bad. They
Yeah.
feel bad. And so I feel that kind of all of us, I'm going to put us in that boat, but I'm going to admit it myself as well. When we talk about you have to get 7 hours of sleep, we just make people feel bad if they don't. And we create more anxiety. Because
Mhm.
here's the interesting thing, Wendy, is that, we can control exercise and we can control food. I mean, we make bad choices. We don't feel like exercise, but it's in our
Right.
power. We can't control sleep.
Hmm.
We can control our environment. We can set up the optimal conditions to sleep, but we can't really make ourselves sleep. So let's stop making people feel bad if they didn't get 7 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah. And, I mean, so much talk about why, like what happens when we sleep, like does it affect our blood sugar regulation? Does it affect muscle repair? Like why have we been told all these years how important it
Well,
is?
it is important. So I realize I'm saying two different things. It really is important. And it's kind of like I describe sleep as nature's garbage truck. And unfortunately, the truck only comes at night. So like
Mhm.
napping is good. We can feel refreshed. It's good, but the garbage truck only comes at night. It's the glymphatic system. But sleep has an amazing benefit of removing wastes and toxins from our bloodstream.
Mm,
And a lot of my research has been around brain health. And so
mm.
in particular, it's extremely important for brain health. And yet we can't make ourselves sleep. We can set ourselves up. And I have tips for that. I have many tips, but I think we should just stop feeling so bad if we didn't get 7 hours.
And I'm glad you mentioned brain health, Sally, because you talk about that a lot on your Wellness Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So tell the listeners what Wellness Wednesday is, and then we'll talk about how maybe sleep affects our brain health.
Okay. So Wellness Wednesdays, it's a free program. It's monthly, usually the middle of the month. And I have experts on topics related to healthy aging. I've been running this for 7 years. We've had more than 15,000 registered participants from 57 countries. And it's on things like sleep, nutrition, movement, um, internalized ageism, our attitudes about aging. And it's free and recorded. So I hope people come.
And you can find it on myzinglife.com. We'll talk about that. But tell me about you had mentioned insomnia as opposed to maybe some sleep interruption. So what is the difference?
Yes. So the difference. So what I've described really so far is kind of like normal aging. Insomnia, we talk about the rule of threes. Are you sleepless for 30 minutes or more, 3 days a week for at least 3 months? That's true
30, say
insomnia.
that again. 30
Sure.
minutes or more.
30 minutes or more, you're awake, at least 3 times a week, and for 3 months or more.
So that would be
That's
concern about
classified. That's a
insomnia. That's
clinical, more of a
classic.
clinical definition of insomnia. That's right. So like last night, it's so funny. I think I was thinking about today's podcast, and I'm like, I had a little trouble sleeping. But I might say, oh, I had insomnia. No, insomnia, it goes on for a while. And that's
Okay.
when it's time to actually see someone. Now, insomnia can be caused by a couple of things. One, I would say just this kind of hyper vigilant mind that we have, the monkey mind. I think
Mm,
you described it at the beginning of the show, where we just can't turn it off. It's
right.
like, we just can't turn it off. But then again, especially in older adults, I mentioned this earlier, it's obstructive sleep apnea. And you might actually have both and not even realize it. So my feedback, I can give people tips for if they just have kind of some normal problem sleeping. But if you really suspect insomnia or sleep apnea, and I'm going to come back and define that more, see your primary care physician. You can get a sleep study done. You can do them at home now. For people with insomnia, there is something called cognitive behavior therapy for insomnia, which is more around setting up those conditions or the environment to help you sleep.
Hmm.
But if insomnia is going on for 3 months or more, you should get some professional help.
Hmm. Okay. And would they then, so you said cognitive behavioral therapy, so that's not where they would be giving you sleeping pills or sleep aids like that? No.
No. So okay. So, you might start with your primary care physician. CBTI is what it's called, cognitive behavior therapy for insomnia. It's really the gold standard now for treating sleep disorders. I think most physicians are trying to get away from sleeping pills. Sleeping pills have improved a little bit over the years. They're maybe less dangerous, something like Ambien. The problem with Ambien, though, is it creates at least a psychological addiction, if not a physical one. And your sleep waves are not actually the same as natural sleep.
So you're
And
not getting the garbage truck.
the garbage truck is probably a little faulty. And the other problem with Ambien is people sleepwalk. They sleep drive. I mean, how dangerous is that?
Yeah, I've
So
heard about
I'm
that.
not a big, recommender of sleeping pills.
Mhm.
I do want to talk a little bit about obstructive sleep apnea. So
Yeah, that's you hear a lot about that.
it's
Yeah.
common, and part of the reason it increases as we age, it's a breathing problem. If you think about the fact that our muscles may not be quite like what they used to be, even the muscles in the throat tend to relax, and that can obstruct the airway. And we think of obstructive sleep apnea as somebody stops breathing. So your partner is snoring and then they stop breathing. It doesn't always turn out that way. So
No.
first of all, people can snore and it's not sleep apnea, may or may
Okay.
not be.
Mhm.
Secondly, you might not even notice that they stop breathing, but they're
Mhm.
really tired in the morning, or they have to have a nap every day after lunch. There's some additional signs that they're not sleeping well. And so it's good to have it checked out.
So I know that I'm going to turn this into a question.
That's
But
okay.
but I know that sometimes when I lie down on my back, I
Mhm.
will feel like my throat kind of closes up, like I can't get that breath down there. But if I turn on my side, I'm okay. So the question is, can sleep apnea be affected by the way you're lying and sleeping, or is it generally a problem that you should have checked out?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I would say probably, but I'm not an MD, so I don't know for sure.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's, we have like what Medicare wellness checks. I think it's always a good question to ask the doctor when you see the doctor. Yeah.
Oh, I know. We have too many things to ask our doctor about all the time,
Here's
right?
here's our list.
I know. I know. So talk to me, Sally, about some of the things that we can do. Like say you're a dolphin, right? And you've been a dolphin your whole life. You always are like trying to go to sleep. You can't shut your brain down. Then you finally fall asleep. Then you wake up, blah, 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 blah. So, what are some good like habits or wind down techniques that people that are experiencing that can
Yeah.
use?
So I have quite a few of them. And all of my tips are based on the scientific literature. I've read dozens of papers, and it's what I've also found from people in the community, which I think is, sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're different.
Mm,
So I have a number of them. Okay. So, and this is true for a dolphin, or it's true for anyone who has some trouble sleeping every once in a while. Okay. The first one I'm going to give you is to relax and stop beating yourself up. Um, One of the things that I have learned to do when I'm laying in bed and I can't go to sleep, or I wake up and I can't go back to sleep, is I remind myself, your body is at rest. This is good. You're still resting. This is
mhm.
good. It's that simple. You can make it more of a mantra, but instead of going, why can't I sleep? I'm going to be worthless in the morning. I'll never get through that meeting. All the rumination that happens, just telling ourselves we're good and our body's at rest. That's one thing. Okay.
Mm.
So
That's
that's,
interesting because that's my mother used to tell me that when I was young,
did
and I
she, what
couldn't.
did she say?
Because I was always panicked that I would be the last one asleep in the house.
Oh,
And
oh,
I know. And she used to tell me, just as long as you're resting, just lie there quietly and rest. That's as good as sleeping.
yeah. And you know, see, here's the thing, Wendy. Technically, no, because there's like no, the garbage truck isn't coming.
Right.
But it is still beneficial. And oftentimes, if we tell ourselves that, if we just kind of calm our mind and tell ourselves we're good, we're in a safe place. You know, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, this pillow feels so good. Or last night I was listening to the rain is so good. It's just so good. Like you get into a different place. You get in, it helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which can calm us down. So
Yes.
that's the main thing. Stop
Okay.
beating yourselves up. Okay, but I've got lots more. So
Okay.
this is a really interesting meta-analysis from 2024, and it talks about the fact that sleep regularity is as important or more important than sleep duration. And the sleep regularity is going to bed and getting up at the same time. Now,
Okay.
if you're a lion, that might be like 6:30 a.m. till 10 p.m. If you're a wolf, you might go to bed at midnight, but you get up at 8 a.m. But the idea behind this regularity is that you do it 7 days a week, not 5. And one of the things that happens in our culture is that we tend to want to, like, you know, we short sleep during the week and then, oh my God, I need 10 or 11 hours of sleep on the weekend. And again, what you're trying to do is support your circadian rhythm. You're trying to get your body used to a certain pattern of this is when we sleep and this is when we wake up. And I will tell you, Wendy, true confession here, I had so much trouble doing this that I finally got a buddy. My buddy's name is Joan. For the last 5 years, we
Yeah.
text each other before we go to bed. There's an expectation that we're in bed by 10:30.
Uh-huh.
And like I feel accountable to Joan if I'm not in bed by 10:30.
Ah, interesting.
It really
Okay.
helped. And I've totally changed that habit. So
Ah,
that's really good. So sleep regularity.
okay.
Um, a wind down routine. I call it the unpower half hour. I used to call it the unpower hour, but it was not popular. But half hour. So here's the thing. We assume that we can be busy, you know, maybe watching TV, but maybe cleaning up the kitchen, like whatever we're churning like this. And then we hit the bed and we're supposed to go to sleep. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. We have to give our body some cues that it's bedtime. And so whatever your routine is, I like to put my fluffy robe on, I brush my teeth, I have, the whole face thing and
Right.
cream and stuff like that. Um, at at this time of year, I heat up a little like heating pad in the microwave so I can have
Yeah.
it on my stomach. I love that.
Oh,
But
nice.
I get my cup of water. Um, it's like there's a routine. So
Mm-hmm.
these are things that people can do that set up the environment. And then I think everybody knows, but a cool, dark room, that you don't want to be hot, you don't want light coming in. That's going to help.
So I like that idea of a routine. We've talked a lot about, or not on this show, but we talk a lot about a morning routine. Maybe because I'm a lion, I talk about it. But, I like to get up in the morning, have my coffee, maybe read, maybe journal. It's like my quiet time to enter the day, right?
Yes.
And I think what you're describing at night is it's a way to program your mind that this is my quiet time to wind down for the evening, whatever it is, whether it's, the facial routine and brushing your teeth. I like to read in bed at night, which means I read a page and a half before my eyes are
I
closing.
know.
But whatever your wind down routine is, I think it's again a way of programming your mind that this is the time to be quiet.
Right. Right. And so again, what we're doing is we can't make ourselves sleep, but we can give ourselves a fighting chance.
Give
And
yourself
you
some
you mentioned
routines.
something important, Wendy, about morning. So this is kind of a little known fact, is that getting morning sunlight outside, ideally, like stand on your balcony versus looking out the window or go outside, um, within about the first hour of waking, helps reset your clock. It
Uh-huh.
helps with sleep because remember that circadian rhythm? I said it's a little bit off. It's 23 hours, 56 minutes, and some seconds.
I don't know how they
So
figured that
getting
out.
sunlight first thing in the morning helps like reset it. It's like, oh, okay, well, now we're back to 24 hours. So people
Eh,
don't realize that, get a dog. If you get a dog, you're going to be going out first thing in the morning and getting some sun. And even on a cloudy day or a foggy day, there's still sun out there. So
Yeah,
that's something.
that's
And
good to
then
know because I don't do that. So that is interesting. That's good to
it's an
know.
interesting tip. I
Yeah.
think, you've talked on this show a lot about the benefit of exercise for so many things. But
Mhm.
there is a bi-directional relationship between exercise and sleep. So at
Okay.
least 30 minutes of walking a day
Mhm.
will help you sleep better. And
Mhm.
if you sleep better, you're more likely to do that walk. So
Is there a better time, like exercise in the morning or at night?
well, this is so interesting because remember those chronotypes?
Yes.
Like most people find that their most productive time for thinking is also their best time for exercise. So I
Ah,
don't know about you. Are you a
love it.
morning exercise
Yes,
person? So
absolutely.
am I. And if I wait too long, I'll never do it.
That's
So,
right.
so then I'm faced with, oh my gosh, I have to do my best thinking and my workout with, in this
I
time.
know.
But but what I've learned is like not to just answer email during my 7 to 11 time
Mm.
because that doesn't take that much brain power and that could be done later. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another good tip, like, to pay attention to your chronotype, your
Mhm.
lion, bear, wolf,
Mhm.
dolphin. So, and I know that even when I was in college, like, people would be pulling all-nighters studying for a test. There was no way I was gonna pull a all-nighter and then be good
Yeah.
on a test.
Yeah.
I had to study regularly, during the day, and that was that. If I knew it, I knew it. If I didn't, I didn't.
Yeah. And I think you and I would both be hard pressed to pull an all-nighter now. Oh my God.
It would never happen. I know. Sally, what about dreaming? Have you ever done any kind of studies on dreaming and how that
I
affects us?
I am so interested in dreaming. I really have not read enough like scientific papers on it. I would say, every creature dreams. Like I
But
love it.
most of us don't remember it.
We mostly don't remember it. There was an Aborigine tribe that they practiced lucid dreaming. Have you ever heard of lucid dreaming?
No.
So lucid dreaming is when you're dreaming, but you're aware you're dreaming. And it was
Oh,
part of this culture where like the parents taught the kids to go back into a dream and fight someone or do something. So
what?
some people, maybe 5% of people can lucid dream. Most of us can't. But one of the best explanations I've heard for why we dream is that from an evolutionary perspective, it gave us a chance to kind of try things out, like
Mm,
the video simulation,
okay.
to see, what would happen. Um, we don't know exactly why we dream. I'm fascinated by it. And are you aware that you dream? You don't remember your dreams, but are you aware?
It's funny. Most of the time, I have no recollection of dreams, but lately I've had a couple of like presentations I'm preparing for and trainings that I'm going to do. And it's the same dream that I would have in college, of like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the semester and there was this class I never attended, so it's this dream of, oh, I'm
I,
going to fail
I
this,
still have those. It's so funny. Yeah.
right? And so I think that the anxiety of what's coming is so much more present that even though I'm sleeping,
Yeah.
the garbage truck is trying to clean it out. It's like, no, 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 I'm not letting go. I'm still going to feel that anxiety.
Where that goes.
But yeah, I I think a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to write down their dreams and pay attention to them, but I don't think they interrupt our sleep. Do you?
No, and I tried that for a while. This was a long time ago, and it's kind of exhausting. It's really kind of exhausting. I want to give your listeners one more good tip about if you can't sleep.
Good. I was going to ask you
Because
that.
this one there's a lot of scientific evidence, and then there's some really funny things I've heard in the community. So what sleep psychologists will say is if you're laying in bed for more than 20 minutes, like let's say you got up, you went to the bathroom, you came back to bed, and you're just laying there, like, don't just lay there. Get up and do something else. Now, the reason they say get up and go somewhere else is that there can be kind of this psychological association when you see your bed and you start to think every time I see the bed, oh, I can't sleep. It's like, because I just toss and turn and toss and turn. And so there's a negative association with bed. So that's why they tell you to get up and do something else. So what they might recommend is go somewhere where it's kind of dark. Maybe there's a task lamp, something soft, quiet, light, read a book. Or do it on a sofa. So if you get tired, you could just kind of, like lay down and fall asleep or listen to music. But you get the idea. It's like low light, low stimulation. And I think that works for some people. But I have shared this at community centers and different places where I've spoken. And I'll tell you what some people have said. They go, oh, Sally, it's a great idea. They say, what I do, I thought this was a really good one. They take sticky notes and a pen and they just write anything that's on their mind. Sticky, sticky, sticky. They don't even look at what they're writing, but they write things down if they have that monkey mind going. Okay. So then somebody said, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I get up and I unload my dishwasher.
Really? That's pretty active.
I unload my dishwasher and then I can go back to sleep. I just thought that was so funny. Then somebody said they get up, they go outside and do jumping jacks. They said just 10 and then they go back to sleep. And then I will tell you what I do. So, we always say, oh my God, don't use your iPad or don't use your phone, the blue light.
The blue light. True. Yeah, the TV, don't turn on the TV.
But I get my iPad. I use it in dark mode. I keep it in dark mode. And I look at Bella's dog pictures. My dog is 5. I have thousands of pictures of my dog, Wendy. And I just pick a year and a month, 2021, 2022. And I just look at her dog pictures.
Makes you happy.
And it does. See, it puts me in a different place.
Yeah.
And it works. And so the reason I'm sharing this, it kind of gets back to chronotypes and bio-individuality, is that if something works for you, it works for you. Find what helps you go back to sleep. I know if I really can't sleep, I'm going to just look at dog pictures.
That's amazing because I know that, I know I would think if I went out and did jumping jacks, I would be awake. There's no way I'd go back to sleep. So that's really,
and usually when I share this in live speaking events, people go, I know exactly what you mean. Here's what I did. And I'm like, that's nothing like what I said, but it works for them.
Yes. And it's like, if it works for you to go back to sleep, if jumping jacks are going to wake you up, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Sally, I have loved this conversation and the fact that you were helping take away some of the shame and the worry and the anxiety about, what's wrong with me? Why can't I sleep? And you kind of normalized this for all of us. So thank you so much for that.
I had so much fun being on your program. As you know, with Wellness Wednesday, I'm usually interviewing people. It's actually fun to get interviewed. How fun is that?
Good. Yes. And so I want to show people where they can find you on Wellness Wednesday, Sally. And I didn't ask you about My Zing Life. How did you come up with this name for your website?
Okay, in our couple minutes. So I needed a company name and my attorney said to trademark it. It couldn't be wellness this or health that. It had to be something different. So my friend and I don't know, we were having sushi one night and we came up with this idea of Zing. I always think of that's how the name was born. But then I couldn't get zing.com. The website was taken. And I'm like, well, I could have bought it for like tens of thousands of dollars.
Right. Don't need it that bad.
So I don't know. Another friend of mine came up with My Zing Life, but it's kind of easy to remember. Yeah, and if people go to My Zing Life, they'll see a banner there for Wellness Wednesdays. I would love for people to join me for Wellness Wednesdays. It would be great.
Yeah, you do a great job on those. I've listened in on a few. I also want to give a shout out to another woman podcaster who is in our Age Wise Collective. Her name is Patricia Drain, and she is at patriciadrain.com. And the cool thing is, I was on Patricia's show this past week, and her show is called Women Entrepreneurs Over 50 Making More, Working Less, and Doing What You Love. And so Patricia started something called We Talks, W-E, We Talks, which are like TED Talks, except we is for women entrepreneurs. And so I listened to the episode that we did where I did a We Talk. Oh my gosh, Sally, I was so impressed. I don't mean to be bragging, but
Well, you should. How cool is that?
oh my gosh, it was so good. So please go to patriciadrain.com and listen to my We Talk on there. That was fun. Thank you again to Greenwood Capital for sponsoring this podcast. Greenwood Capital is a registered and independent advisory firm providing wealth management, investment solutions, and financial planning to clients in 23 states. And to everyone listening, thank you, Sally, for this. This has been so much fun. And thank you, and take care of your brain, take care of your body, take care of your sleep. Remember, we're not done yet. My name is Wendy Green. This is Boomer Banter, and I will see you all next week.